Niina. Welcome to DMD Show. Today I'm joined with my co-host Celestina.
Hi everyone.
And our guest Niina. She's an author, correct?
Yes.
So hi Niina, how are you?
I'm very fine, Cristina. Thanks. How are you?
I'm very fine. Thank you. Thank you for joining us today. So how are you finding this COVID thing happening?
To be honest with you, Cristina, I'm happy the kids have gone back to school. As you can hear, it's very silent in the house. It was a lot. As you know, I have 6 kids, so it was too much for me to handle at times.
Mm-hmm. So that's a good news.
Yes, good news is they're back to school and I have my freedom. Yes.
But was it a, positive time for you, or was it a negative time for you?
There were negatives and positive time, because within the peak of COVID last year, I was in a coma, okay, because I gave birth prematurely, so I was in a coma in hospital for like up to 3 weeks. The positive side of it is, I found love. I've got a beautiful baby boy. He's growing healthily. I've done so many things. There's a thing about coming back from coma which makes you to realize to appreciate life and live life, kind of thing. So I was really living life, to be quite honest.
Okay, wow, amazing. That must be a little bit challenging time to be in a coma.
Yeah.
Wow, God is great anyway for you to be.
Always, my dear, always.
Okay, so today we'll have questions for you, and our first question is, can you tell us, when did your career start? Tell us about the journey.
I'm a woman of multi-talented, but what I can start with is from the Democratic Republic of Congo, because that's where I'm really from. Okay. And I would probably say that the person that, impacted this entrepreneurship in me was my grandmother, because she used to be the kind of woman that used to sell at the market in Democratic Republic. So she used to take me all the time. And I used to see how she used to sell. I used to see how she used to go and buy things to sell. So it was a really good preparation. And being a young kid at the time, those are the things I used to see. Mm-hmm. So it also threw me into discovering myself. I started telling stories when I was in Congo. On the sand, we would draw on the sand, and I'll be telling story, and I'll have all my friends around listening to my make-believe story, and this is where it all started. So when I came to UK, for me, I would say UK gave me the opportunity to learn through study so that I can further the skill that I already had. So I started reading a lot. I did creative and professional writing in East London University. There's so many things just to follow up and, brush up a bit of my skill to discover it a bit more. So that's where it started. And here I am today. Just keep discovering and keep studying, never stop studying.
Wow, amazing, amazing.
I am one of those blessed children who came to Congo because the father thought, coming in here, we will get a good life, because both my mom and dad were pretty high-profile soldiers in Congo. So they flee as refugees, asylum seekers, should I say. And then we came here to leave, not to look for money. So we had to obviously integrate and adapt into the lifestyle here.
You mentioned your parents came as asylum seekers. Was there something going on in Congo why they had to leave?
Yes, they had to flee the regime of the former president Mobutu. Everybody knows him, who reigned for like 30 odd years, and there was some war and stuff. So many armies and soldiers were fleeing, and we were one of those fortunate as well to flee. And that's how it started. That's how we found ourselves here. 5 years after, we got our asylum, and then another 4 years onto that, then it was a naturalization. And we did not know what it is. It's mainly our parents who faced it, but we were just blessed to just be behind them and just being carried.
Amazing.
And to be alive and safe.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, because we used to live in the army barracks, and that was even the hot place. Hearing guns every day. And I think my mom and dad just thought it's not a place really to raise children.
Wow. So how will you define yourself?
I define myself as a very open and honest woman. Okay. I don't take nonsense. I don't like nonsense. And I like to walk in truth. No matter how much it hurts, I always encourage people to always be open and speak the truth. So that's how I would define myself at the moment.
I like that. I like that. At the beginning, you mentioned how you're multifaceted, and they kind of tend to describe women as that, and you're doing so many things. So tell us a little bit more about what Niina does, or what she has been doing, or what you are doing.
Well, before I came into COVID, I used to, I still do now as I started it up again. I was an appropriate adult, which simply means I work hand in hand with the young offenders and the police in my community. Okay, so when they get a juvenile in and then they invite me in to sit in the interview, just to talk to them and see whether they've been treated nice or not, and report it back to the, young offenders, my officer, I think. So I was doing that. And on top of that, also was, I won't say working, but contracted as a ESOL teacher, and also a creative art with a CPP, which is a creative people and places, and my borough in Hounslow. So, and amongst that, they'll just have a thing. If I get contracted for acting, I will act. If I get, everywhere I get contracted to do the skills that I have, I will do.
I'm just wondering, how does it feel now being an ESOL teacher? Because that's usually asylum seekers or refugees who don't speak English. And that's an experience that you've had growing up or coming here from Congo and obviously, integrating into the community.
It was amazing, and I think I'm very grateful for Talk English, who actually gave me the opportunity to go through the training and be the person to be doing it, because I was able to tell my story to the students, because remember, we're not teaching kids, we're already teaching people who already have another language that they're so mastered on, and they feel like incompetent with this new language. And a lot of them were women mainly, and they were so afraid, thinking, I feel stupid. I'm like, okay, I ask them a question, I'll tell them, look, I came as a child, I speak it, but if you learn English, it just means an additional language on the language that you already speak. But if we were to get other people who lives here who only speaks English, they're looking at you as you're the smartest person. I was able to flip it around. I was able to make it so interesting and so fun. And it's lovely to see that they all picked up the courage. Some of them started to do voluntary. I told them that if you don't speak English, you can always start doing voluntary in the UK. Because I think the whole ESOL program was they give you what to do, but then it's up to you how you decide to. So I think I made it so fun, and I made it so like, you need to learn English. You need to integrate, because I told them you cannot learn if you just sit at home, do voluntary, do something. So start speaking, make a mistake. It's okay. Nobody cares as long as you can understand what you're saying. That's more important. So yeah, I'm very proud for those two classes that I had, because I had a Wednesday class and an evening class, totally different groups, women group and a whole mixture of people. And when we ended it, they're all like, oh no, we're not going to be in your class anymore. Some of them even tried to remain in my class. And I'm like, no. And then COVID happened. So everybody went the separate, but I'm hoping that I'm still going to be back into the project again, because I love it. I love it. It's challenging because you have to be humble. And I was younger than most of the people that I was teaching. So being from a background of we have to respect our elders, so I had to be very humble, but then have a strategic way of teaching them, because some of these people are coming from countries where they look at you like, you're a little kid. What can you tell us? And men as well. So being taught by a woman and a younger woman was a challenge. So yeah, we made it through.
Wow, so tell us, why do you do music?
Music, because I'm music. I do music because I'm music. Okay, music did not start here. Music started from Democratic Republic of Congo. Those who used to know where I used to live was like an army barracks called Kambadiading, and we had a church, a Catholic church called St. Agnes. I always used to be like, how can I say, the lead. There's an auntie who always used to take me and to perform and things. So it started from there, and I just grew up with him. My dad, every Sunday, he listens to all those old, jazz music and things, and we'll be sitting there listening. So music was always part of my life and around me all the time. So when I came into the UK, again, I loved music, but the kind of music I loved at the time when I came into, you won't believe, I used to listen to country music. I used to listen to all genres of music. But then, of course, I thought, okay, let me try other music. I just love music. So I've been exposed to so many genres of music to the point that I said, I'm music.
So it sounds like you do music. You mentioned, and Cristina mentioned at the beginning, how you're also an author. So out of all the things you do, which one would you say really speaks to you? I know you just mentioned that music is a part of you. So, you know, how would you describe what you do and which specific one? Is there a specific one that you would be like, this makes me feel alive?
There is a specific one for me, and the specific one for me is writing. So no matter what I do, be in music or anything, you will be able to hear my voice in my writing, because I believe writing has a voice. And writing is my thing, because what I've done is I've been able to read my books, listen to my music, and I realize that the voice is similar, it's the same. So writing, it's the thing for me. I write with my eyes closed. I can write with my eyes closed, literally. You know, I create stories and things that just come to my head, and I write and I write and I write. I have tons of books, my kids will tell you, loads of books that I write. You know, I think writing is the it for me. It's the it for me.
Why do you think writing is the it for you?
I think it was because of the journey I went through when, at the younger age, when the inevitable happened. It was a way that I could express myself. It was a way that I can voice out what was inside of me. And it also is my way of going through therapy, reflection. You know, I don't like to keep things inside, so I like to bring them out. And sometimes speaking is difficult. I used to be a very shy person, believe it or not. So it was very challenging for me to speak. So the best thing for me was to write a story, tell you through a story, just write in the sand or whatever it is. I just used to write.
Yeah. Wow. You mentioned when the inevitable happened. Do you want to touch a bit more on what that was? What did happen?
Well, just put it this way. At the moment, all I can just say at the moment, I was gang raped at the age of 7. And I was in the barracks where I was living in Congo. But I have spoken about it on many, many platforms, my books and things. So they're all there for people to follow up. If anyone wants, to really have a one-to-one on that particular subject, I'm more than happy to talk about it.
Do you mind to tell us a little bit more about the experience and how did you manage to overcome it, just for people who are struggling as well?
Well, for people who are struggling with such experience, my only advice is I was not privileged, first of all, to speak to anyone until I was much older. Okay, I kept it all inside. I left Congo. I came to the United Kingdom with it all inside, try to live a normal life, like, okay, I'm a normal person, until you reach a particular age where you start to realize actually what happened to me was that. And then you sink back in again. So how I got over it, first of all, is therapy, although at the time it did not feel like anything was happening. But the more I spoke about it, the less emotional I became about it. And the more I picked up courage, and the more I became a victor instead of a victor. So now I speak about it in the position of a victor and not a victim. And it's okay to talk about it, because before it was, if I talk about it, I will cry. It's okay to cry, but it's all part of the process of the healing, until the point I realized, okay, I needed to go through the crying. I needed to go through the healing, because it's something I did not do before. So I need to do it now so that it can be out of the way, and then I can see the way through, and I know how now to move. And I've taken it and I've moved forward. So sometimes we blame ourselves, and by blaming ourselves, we deny ourselves help. We feel, who's going to believe you now? That really what was going through my head. Like, it happened when I was 7. Now I'm almost in my late 20s. Who's going to believe me? But thank God I had the courage to speak.
So when you were going through this challenge at the time, did your parents were aware of it? Like, who actually, was it a cousin? Was it a relation?
I was raised up in a nation at the time where I'm 7, Cristina. I'm in Africa and I'm 7. My mom and dad goes to work, and you just come and say, Dad, this and this, that happened. You get blamed before. True. Because at your age, who taught you how to say those things? Where do you see it from? How did it happen? Because in the house it's not happening, so where is it coming from? And then the other adult who did it can just say, I have no idea what they're talking about. we don't have hospital where they can go and check whether I was still, a virgin or not, whether I was speaking the truth or not, because even if we did, they can corrupt them with just paying them money to save, any information. You see, so it was very challenging because I knew how my father would have reacted, because I had a father who was very short-tempered. And my mom, she probably would have started crying her eyes out and things. But with all honesty, I probably would have thought that. I'm sure my grandparent may have known something of it, because I remember after that incident did happen, I used to spend a lot of time with my grandparents. All the time they would ask for me to go over there, and that's when they were teaching me certain things and stuff. It was happening before, but I was spending more now, where it would just be me who go there. So, and then my grandparents started showing me the Bible and things. So there, these I always say that grandparents, all the people have a way of knowing certain things and seeing certain things. So I think somehow they may have known, because I spent a lot of time with them, a lot of time after that. And they are the reason, like, why even I believe in God, because my grandfather did pour a lot of biblical principles in me. So, yeah.
So how long were this going on? Was it for like to your 10 years or to your 8 years? How long did it?
It was a one-day event with 3 different people, and I had to flee from there when the person slept, because he was drinking anyway. So he slept, and that's how I sneaked out. And after that, it did not happen again. So it was just that event. And then my life changed after that. Everybody around me could see that I was no longer the bubbly, shouty person, because I was trying to comprehend what has just happened. Everything about me was affected. Basically, it's like I became a tomboy, okay? And those who knew me back in those days in the 93, right up until like 2003, I was really, really much a tomboy. I always wear boy stuff. I always, had a very male character, only because I did not want another guy to look at me in the way those people did and do what they did. See, and I did have a lot of hate towards guys by the way I acted and was towards them. It's just like, it was like a hate thing, and it was like as if almost like, you dare to fall in love with me, I'm gonna break your heart, kind of thing. So yeah, all of that was going through while I was in my teenage years in the UK.
When did you speak up, and when did you think this is the right time for me to speak up, to gain my freedom?
It was the right time when I was actually pregnant with my 4th child, and the way my pregnancies were coming along and the way I was being in the relationship, it's like when I get pregnant, after 3 months, the guys go. So I started to realize that there was a pattern in my life that I knew that it's either spiritual or something is definitely not right. So I felt maybe it could be, I started going to church at the time. Okay, it was a very well-known church in London, I don't want to say, but I started going there, and the preaching and everything starting to make me realize maybe what happened to me in Congo had something to do with how my life is being at the moment, because I discovered that, it's that act in itself brings in, transfers certain things, because my life was just not okay. So I was in a 4th pregnancy, 3 months after the guy goes, and I'm like, okay, this is not right. And this time, that's how I went into the church. So when I went into the church, you know what it is, that they make you to just speak about your life. I spoke about the relationships and everything. And the pastor just says, was it anything that happened to you when you were young, blah, blah, blah. Because, with this deliverance ministry, they always try to figure out something, and stuff like that. So I said, yeah. Then I explained to them what happened, and he was really shocked. And he was looking at me like, what? Really? And from the look of his face, I told him, this is the reason why I don't tell people, because I feel like people are not going to believe me. And he goes, no. It's not that I don't believe you. I'm just thinking, you've carried it for 20 odd something years just to open up and think. And I said, well, nobody sat me like you did and asked me questions. But you did. But I was surrounded by Christian, and no one person could tell me that, you know what, this and that, and this is why, you know, when it comes to all those religious things, I'll be like, okay, you know, because I was surrounded by people and no one felt the need to lead me, you know, to Christ or to talk to me about Christ, but they'll just tell me, oh, you know what, just pray, God will do it for you, just pray, you know. But this particular pastor, when I booked an appointment to see him, well, actually he asked to see me because I was pregnant and into the church, and he asked about the fathers, and I told him what happened, and then I think God just touched his heart to ask me questions. And that's how it started. So he was the first person I opened up to. So after that, he prayed for me and he goes to me, just go and make sure you keep talking about it. Look for therapy, look for something. You know, he signposted me, and that's where it started.
Amazing. What about your mom?
Yeah, my mom just found out when I wrote my book.
Was she not asking you questions when you had your first child and that left? Did your mom not call you and sit you down? Or even when you're doing tomboy, what your mom worried, like, my daughter wasn't like this before? Because like you said, back in Congo, correct? You were, you know, happy sharp, kind of a child, very bubbling. And then all of a sudden, you've changed, you become a tomboy. Was she not asking you questions, like, you know?
Well, she probably could have seen it, but you see, I always say that, you know, a lot of African women back in those days, when they're in a relationship or in marriage, okay, it's having children is like, it's a must. But when you have a child, it's not just your own responsibility. The focus is mainly on, you know, the husband, okay, and making sure the husband, and they just trust that the kids are okay. And they trust that if the kid needs anything, the kids will come to them. And with my mom, all I can say is that she's a woman. I always say, I don't blame her anyway. It's just how she is. She's the mother of everyone. Okay, she's the kind of person that everyone will come, call her. She always has this activity. She has these things. She has those things. Blah 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 blah. You know, she takes care of everything else. But she just believed that I was okay. She believed that if I need anything, I will come and I'll talk to her. So when I sat her down and I told her what happened, and they weren't even home, they were at work. But she's always been a working mother, you know, from back home. So I told her, and she was like, oh, but people may ask, where was I? And I said, but you were working. That has nothing to do with you or anything. It's just that you were working. You were doing what you could do for us to go to private school and have all the things that we had, you know. So when it comes to that, I've always said that, I don't blame them. It's just, it's something for me which can let them see how parenting, it's important. Just as that's why I do a lot of workshop with even, you know, other people, even Celestina, about parenting. I encourage it because it's beautiful to see them learning. My mom recently just said something as well, like, oh, you know what? We just didn't know. They didn't know. No. So we can't really blame old generation as much because they did what their parent taught them. Yeah. From looking at how my grandmother raised me, even the way she raised me, I can see why my mom had to act the way she acted, because they don't know. You see, that's just it. It's very tragic. They just don't know.
I think she should be more concerned about you, the pain, what you've gone through as a mother, knowing the fact that your daughter actually had gone through this thing and kept it all on her own for years.
But that generation, again, I say like the 3 generation up, because I'm 40, so go 3 up.
Wow.
It's like, I don't know why, but when they had the kids, they're not detached emotionally to the children. Okay, it's like they look at children as, you're here, you know, we're gonna do whatever we can do, but when you grow up, you're gonna help us.
Yeah,
that's that generation I'm talking about. So with this kind of generation, you have to understand the mindset. See, the mindset has always been about them. It's always about what you should do for them, not necessarily about what I should do for the child. The fact that I've schooled you, I've put you into things, you know, when you get older, and I put it to her like this, and I said, so you give birth to me when you're 20, and then you do everything you have to do to keep me until when I get older, then you say that I should now work for you. So all these years, why were you not working for yourself? So these are the things that slowly you start to teach them. So yeah, that generation, I've always told my mom, I've written about it, and I said, it's all about them. it's never really about the children, because they give birth to you so that you can do for them.
Absolutely. I really hear what you're saying, because that's another thing that I've heard a lot in the Black community. Even generations that are your generation, they hear, you know, my children are going to look after me. My child is a doctor, is going to look after me. My child is going to do this for me. And it's like, that's not your child's responsibility to do anything for you. That is yours to plan for your old age. You know, and it's things like, oh, you know, my child would never put me into a nursing home. Your child shouldn't have to put you in a nursing home. You should just plan for, you know, what's going to happen to you if you ever get sick and you're old, if you're 60 and you're 70. So I definitely hear what you're saying in regards to that generation, their mindset of how they're raised. Children back then was just completely different. And I think as a child, it's really also beautiful how, you know, you said it yourself, you definitely don't blame your mom, because there's one thing I'm always saying is always about, we do better when we know better. You know, if she didn't know, she can't possibly do. And if she wasn't raised to be aware of certain things, it's really hard for her to also be aware of herself and even how her child might be feeling or change. If something happened to her in a way where she would not sit you down and question you. But I think it's just all about learning, because now there's things that you've been through that you can now put into your own personal parenting and help other parents also look at.
And the future generation.
Exactly, future generation. If your child's behavior changes, what should you be looking out for? Because you've gone through that kind of journey. So I think, you know, sometimes life takes us through journeys for us to be able to teach the multitude because of our one story and our one experience.
Well done. You're doing so well.
Thank you.
So well. Thank you for speaking up. Thank you for the courage, you know, and for, you know, coming on DMD show to share your story as well, you know, to help other women.
Thank you for having me.
Other young girls that are struggling, because there is a lot of people, you know, struggling. I've had lots of interviews like this, and you're wondering, like, these things actually happen. Their parents is there working. You know, the mom will not ask. We won't ask the child, you know, why are you feeling sick?
Yeah, I think, I mean, just one thing that I just want to touch on is just how, you know, as a psychotherapist, I'm so passionate about people, you know, working through their emotions. And I know you've spoken about how you went to therapy, and that really helped you with your emotions and speaking up and the questions that that pastor was asking you. It sounds like that was quite therapeutic, and that also gave you the courage and excitement.
He was a doctor. He actually was a doctor. So I think he knew what he was doing.
Yeah. Absolutely. And one of the things you mentioned to help you with your journey, your healing journey, is you said you journal. So you write things down, you know, you being a writer helped you, and also going to counseling helped you. Is there anything else that you can remember or you can tell the viewers that helps you, just in case they are thinking, what can they do to kind of, you know, heal from something?
Well, as I would say, love music helped me a lot. Okay. I used to listen to classical music, just any soft music, you know, but choose the music that had very positive words, you know, so that you can then put your mind and your focus on those positive. And it just created this imagination in me that I started to imagine that, you know, I can be loved, you know, So music is one of those things. And then I created a safe place in my mind. And no matter what I go through, if you see me with my headset, just know that I'm having my music therapy. That's it. I'm just reshaping my mind back into what it needs to be.
So what will you look back now and say, you know, well done, you're proud of yourself that you've done? What will you think is your greatest achievement so far from everything?
I honestly believe now that I look back, I'm on the 41 now, so I'm going 41 plus. So when I look back on my 40 years, I will believe that the biggest and, you know, strongest achievement I've done is to stand alone from both sides of the family. And what I mean by that is I never gave up on myself, even when the family was like naming names that, you know, this girl, she's over this, you don't listen to, because everybody in my family on both sides, the one word they have, this girl don't listen to anybody. This girl's this girl's that. Because she don't listen, that's why she is where she's going. But then I decided that no, I wasn't going to listen, because I've seen a lot of my cousins waste their life by listening. I decided that whatever it was, be it spiritual or whatever it is, I will tackle it by myself and God. I will create a whole new atmosphere and life for my children. And that's the biggest achievement I would say that I have done now, because when I look at everyone else, I'm still from the same boat family. But when I look at me and them, I look like I'm the stranger. I'm the one that's outside, you see, and I'm happy. You know, I'm not too tied with family ties kind of things, but I'm still part of the family, but I do things in my own way. And both family have grown to respect that.
Amazing.
I love that. So one of your projects is called Black Women Being Uncooked. Tell us a bit more about that. Where did that name come from? And, you know, what's the project about?
In Africa, it's very male dominant, okay? The male are dominating in Africa. And male in Africa look at women like nothing. If they come across a very intelligent woman, a woman who's well, and a woman who's doing everything for themselves, it's an issue. They will tell her, a woman can't be like that. You need to be married so that a man can control you. See, they have this, they always have a way of bringing you down. And I'm really fighting now to raise up women who's going to stand up with the voice. No man, you can be on an interview, like something recently happened to me, actually. I was following a show and a male pastor shut me down and insultingly. So I'm like, so because I'm a woman and you think that you can shut me down like openly and very rudely, and I should just shut up. So I was going to do hit back with a reaction video. Then I thought it's a waste of time. I'm going to keep doing me, because I realized a lot of, from them, especially from a lot of African around me males, are very uncomfortable with how I am. You know, I have 6 kids from 6 different men. That's very uncomfortable. And I'm still standing here talking and doing things. That's very uncomfortable. For them, they feel like, oh, you're too much of a man. But I'm not too much of a man. I'm still a lady. I'm very much of a lady. But it's just that I refuse to make it be like, because you guys can do it and we should be okay with it. So when it happens to me and I'm not happy in a relationship and I choose to leave it, it's an issue. But if you, the man, are not happy in a relationship and you create the problem in the relationship and then blame the woman, and then you walk out and then you can have another woman and carry on another life and be happy, and we can't. And that's what I want to stop. That's what it is I'm just letting women know, listen, we're born alone. We're here on the purpose, and the purpose is not marriage. The purpose is not having kids. The purpose is what God has called you to do it. Why is it that women only are allowed to do this and men, it's okay with them? The men, it's okay. Men can cheat, it's okay. But you try to do that, the whole world, the whole tabloid, everybody will know, call your name, left, right, center, just to break down your spirit. So no man can break down my spirit. No man can break down my spirit. So you can throw at me, say all that you want. The more you're trying to bring me down, the more I rise and frustrate you.
The more they try to bring you down, the more you rise. I love that, because that is me. I have power when people try to bring me down. When you
don't let them,
you know, you give me this inner strength, you just give me, and that will make me, you know what I mean, rise. I love that when I see women act that way. I love it. I love that about you, because no one is perfect. Everyone is bound to make mistake. Just because you have kids for 6 different dads doesn't make you different from any other person. So no one should treat you different. You are very right. So you are your biggest cheerleader. So you have to stand for yourself, because if you do not stand for yourself, nobody is going to stand for you. And if you don't do that, people are just going to keep putting you under the share. If you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And that's where depression comes from. That's where, you know what I mean? So it's going to affect your mental health. So which is good, because you doing that, there are other women watching you that you're actually empowering.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To speak up for themselves as well.
Yeah, like Cristina said, like so many people, so many women will be out there being encouraged by this, you know, this project. Even though you said this might not be the final name, I think the name actually, from when you explained it, the name actually fits perfectly. Black Women Uncooked, because being a cook, being stay at home, that's, you know, the stereotype of what, you know, Black women should be. So, you know, you putting the uncooked really makes sense, really explains what you're definitely trying to portray and support other Black women to be able to do. Yeah, so that makes sense. And absolutely, I mean, and also I think it would also help a lot of Black men out there and a lot of men out there to be educated on, women are not just made to be.
True.
So I
a
think
lot of them don't know. What I realized, a lot of these Black men don't know, especially even with half of what I've gone through, because a lot of them are being raised by, again, those generational mother that will tell them, when you grow up, your money you make supports your siblings' children. Now imagine your sibling, may have a husband. So what's the role of that husband if you now have to support their children? It's just, they had that very backwardness. It's very backward for me in this 21st century that people still think like that. So you will have your children, but your children come second to your siblings. It just did not make sense to me. So a lot of them were not really raised by mothers who gave them the value of a woman, and I think that's what it is. Because I always say that my kid brother, I admire him because he's been with his woman for like almost 20 years. Do you understand? And they have two amazing, and people say, but how can I say, but he's been raised by a mother who gave him the value. I had a father who was a womanizer and who was left, right, center, So women tend to see fathers and men tend to see mothers.
Yeah.
So this is where, it all boils down to. So I may be like this because I don't want a man like my father, but I kept getting men like my father. Why? And then it's something I had to work on myself. And I said, okay, maybe I should stop saying that. And maybe I should say, what is it about my father that I didn't like? And work through and find out how, because it was just shocking. All of them, not one, were actually like my daddy. I said, I don't want that, so I stopped it. I stopped it in every way, and I worked my way through. So now I'm hoping for the new discovery. A whole lot of different guy who does not look like my dad. Who's nothing like my dad.
All behave like him.
Amazing. So let's talk about, your experience in, your kids. Was it something you were looking for, finding the right person? Because sometimes, in a relationship, maybe you're finding this particular, kind of a person with a character. And then, you before you realize you've gone too deep, and then you end up got pregnant. There's nothing you can do about that, isn't it? And then you try again. Was it that the mistake you were making?
I don't think the pregnancy had nothing to do with like any of those things. I think it's like mutual, put it that way. We all met, you know how it is. Most people say I'm very naive, but I don't really believe in naivety. I just believe in that you can just be yourself. There's no need for you to change for other people's, way. So I will just be me. When you come in front of me, for example, Cristina, you tell me this is me, I will believe you. Why would I not believe you?
True.
Do you understand? So I believe you, and then we carry on. And in my mind, I just have what you told me until I see some, words and action not matching. Then we start to talk. What's going on? And then when I start to sitting, and I'm like, okay, I already know what this is. And then what I tend to do sometimes is just stay silent, and then they will just fizzle out and they go by themselves, and I let them go. I've never really pushed anyone off. They just did the mistake themselves. And for me, that was an opening door, and I just left. And people say, oh, but you forgive you? I say, yeah, I've forgiven, but I'm also going, kind of thing. Because some of them, it was the case of like, they want you to make the mistake so that they can leave and say it was you. But because I was too smart, and I was brought up with a man who was the champion of lying. So I knew the scheme. So there's nothing anybody can tell me. So, I knew the scheme, and I just start playing up. I just play in a particular way. I'm an actress. I play in a particular way that you yourself are going to, fall into your trap. And then when that happened, that's my way out. You see, I've never really exited in a way where it's like, I hear some women fighting, go to the side chick and think, what is that? I don't do that. Because when he's about to finish, I already know in the spirit, I already know in my mind it's over. But I'm just waiting for it to happen in the physical. And sometime when that happens, you're already pregnant.
So what advice do you have for young girls out there not to, in regards having babies? What advice do you have for them in relationship?
The advice I'm going to give young girls is the same advice I'm giving my daughters. It's follow your dream. Live your dream first when you're young, okay? Ignore all these males that's coming and trying to woo you with words. I say, work, make money, travel the world before you can then decide to have a love relationship. And I said, I guarantee you, as you travel the world, you will meet so many people that you will regret if you had to settle down to one person that lived in Tottenham or one person that lives in whatever. You will see that there are so many men out there. Stop limiting yourself just in Tottenham this time. Sorry, I have to keep saying Tottenham because that's when I always hear that the bad ones comes out from there. So, Tottenham. Listen, you can go to America, you can go to Haiti, you can go to Malaysia, China, places, travel first. So once you've traveled, then make your choice. Pick where you want to go, where you want to sit. And at that time, you've got fat bank account. No men to take it from you to say, honey, sorry, can you borrow me this because my car, this, and that. They've not married you, but they want to take money from you. Be careful. So I'm real like that with my daughters. I tell them, so close your legs. If they want to marry you, they will come and see your parents and they will do it the right way.
Yeah.
God's way. You will abstain. You will not do anything. They will take you dinner, but you will not give. I say, even this kiss on the lips, make sure they qualify. You can't just give it like that. Say, I made a mistake for you people to learn. So you don't need to go through it again. Just believe me. That's it. So just live your life. We teach our kids, especially in my culture, they teach them, you're a woman, dress like this, be like this, so that men will. No, I don't teach that to my kid. I say, you are an intelligent woman. Do your skills, your thing, do whatever you want to do. Be you. Make money. Don't follow for men's money. You can make money yourself. Forget all this makeup for men to look. If you want men to attract you, they will attract your brain. Let them be attracted to your brain. Not all these things, nails. It's pointless.
Yeah.
So me, I know, I'm very 100% sure the men that will come to marry any of my girls, they're going to suffer. You can't sweet talk them. You can't buy them with money. You can't buy them with car and house. I've got this, I've got company. They will just look at you like, okay. One of them even said that I'm a daughter of a star. So what is it I've not seen? Holiday, I go holiday with my mom. You can't. So I've spoiled my kids in a way that I've given them all that men can give. So now if you want to marry my daughter, you are marrying her because she's going to help you. You're not helping her. And that's how it is. So let's raise our kids like that so that all these things that's happened to us don't happen to them again.
That's very correct. That's why I always say that the best thing a woman can do is to empower herself, education and more. Educate yourself, and more. That's the best thing any woman can do for herself. And then you can attract the man that you want, the man of the dream.
Oh, yes. And you will have a lot of money too. No more broke. Let the broke men be with the broke women, okay? Let the women who aren't broke to be with the men who aren't broke. Please, be cool.
Love it.
I had to put that in because a lot of broke men have some sort of courage. They have courage. They will step up on a woman. They know she's not in your level, but you have that courage. Oh, honey, you want to sweet talk with someone like me. Okay, I will let you see how far that courage will go. You will not go far. I will entertain you just to see how far you will go. So please step up to the women on your level.
And that is what's very important in relationship. You need someone who they can support you, not put you down, support you. You can support them. You can bring ideas, they can bring ideas, and together you can make so much more instead of someone that's putting you down, someone that has no ideas, but they keep needing, wanting. Eventually, you're going to be broke. Eventually, you're going to be emotionally exhausted, burnt out. So absolutely, that's a great way of, helping your daughters be able to know that, to value themselves and to know that the man that does come to take their hands in marriage, in serious relationship, needs to be at a level where he's mentally going to support you, not pull you down, physically going to be there for you, emotionally going to be there for you, spiritually. You know, he's going to be there for you. And yeah, finance is definitely important, but, you know, educationally, is he, you know, does he want to elevate himself?
The mind.
Absolutely. So
the mind has to be in the same level, you know,
Yeah.
especially with this particular guy. I'm hiding him at the moment, you know, I don't know how long I'm going to hide him for, but, you know, he's building. You see, he's seen a diamond and he's seen all these things that this diamond is doing. And he's coming and he's saying, okay, do this, and this will do this. And I try it and it works. I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool. And then I ask him, so why are you doing it? He goes, well, I'm going to need it because it's going to help me too when we become, you know, husband and wife. And that's what we need. A person who sees you and they see the vision, they see themselves, they see how what you do is going to help them. But what I had was like, they're seeing what you're doing now and they're like, oh, opportunity. So they want to take. And then when you reach the point where it's like, okay, you've taken, now throw back. It's like, what kind of woman are you now? And they move into the next victim. So we don't want that.
That's why they say friendship is important in a relationship, in a marriage. So when the love died, what keeps it going is a friendship.
It's a friendship, yes.
It's always best.
And I think with this, and God, of course, but God. I think with this guy, I think that's what it is for us, is our friendship was very solid anyway. You know, we have a very solid, like what I call a transparent friendship.
These men, they can't do without us as well, but we women will have to wear our shoes and back up everything with prayers.
Yeah. And I like the fact that you said that, you know, we have to wear our shoes. And I always remind people the shoes of peace. Yeah. Woman should always be that peacemaker in the home. And not just, you know, any home, but a marital home. We need to get that right, because a lot of people believe because they live with somebody for so long, it's marriage. It's not marriage. A marital home. So you don't need to be a wife to a boyfriend. That is what I think my challenge is, and that's the reason why most of them had to leave, because it's the question of, well, you've tasted it, you don't want the marriage anymore, I can't wife it anymore, kind of thing. You know, you learn when to stop, when you realize that they're not want to taking it forward. Because a lot of women today, they have mental breakdown, depression, because they've been living with a guy for so long and they carry the burden of this guy, and they look at this guy like the husband, but really the guy leave them and move to another and gets married to somebody else the next month. So it's very...
Please, what advice do you have for the viewers in regards to everything we've talked about today, your experience as well?
One advice that I'm going to give the viewers, like I always said, is the advice I give to everyone, you know, love yourself and have a personal relationship with God. We live in a world today where we have so many different doctrine and dogma and, you know, nomination of religion that we forget God. God is in us. You cannot search him outside of you. So when you're literally loving yourself, what you're doing is you are thanking God for creating you. When you do not love yourself, is an insult to God, because we are created in his image. You know, so it's very important. So I encourage people to love themselves, because as you love yourself, you finally find yourself. You find that God really is in you. He's not out there. You know, if you feel you're somewhere that you're not okay, please leave. Is also part of loving yourself, which means you don't want to throw yourself in any toxic, anything that's gonna, you know, destroy the relationship you have with yourself. So the relationship we have with ourselves should be stronger than the relationship we have with every other person around us, because that relationship is you having a relationship with God. I know it sounds very scary. Some people feel, I always tell people, say, you are created in the image of God, so you're God. So as I'm looking at you, Cristina, as I'm looking at you, Celestina, I'm seeing God. So that means I can't hurt you. I have to love you, because when I love you genuinely, it means that I'm loving God. Because we are all created in his image. So that's all I'll give you guys.
All right, thank you. So let's know the topic.
Yeah. So the topic is about early marriage. I know there's, the positive and negative in early marriages. What is your thoughts in regards to people getting married early?
With the experience I've had in life already, when it comes to marriage, I now start to say marriage is about being mature in the mind and in the spirit. It's not necessarily a maturity in age, but it's a maturity in mind. For example, I always give my home, I have an 18-year-old daughter, and she's 18, but she's very mature in mind and in spirit. Now, with her, I'm confident if she was to get married tomorrow, she will be a very good wife, because she's had the training, she's had, all the things that she possibly can to do it, because she's lived life as a child. We've gone out, we've done things, and she still follows her dream, but marriage is not something, and I repeat, it's not something that brings two families together. We need to stop that.
Yeah.
Marriage creates a different family. Why? Because God wants to create something new in both of the family that's meeting together. She's coming from somewhere, he's coming from somewhere, they're meeting together, creating a world that is what God wants. So that when those side of the family are coming into that world, they can see God, they can see something different. Familiarity is very bad. So what happens is when people get married, they bring the two families together, you have the familiarity of the families. And then that's why the marriage breaks down, because you're not giving God the space to create something new. Because, but we've always done it like this. We've always, my aunt said, my mom said. What are they doing in your marriage? It's two people becoming one with God. And then now we have two people are still two. Husband doing left, wife doing this. So why did you get married? Who's helping who? Who's guiding who? Who's the head and who's the neck? So marriage has become something that people just do it for the sake of doing it, I think. But me, I'm glad that, I've come out of a marriage before, and I'm glad I did, because it wasn't what, like I've explained, was. So I think people just do it for the sake of doing it, so that people can know they're married. So that sometimes people do it for having kids, and sometimes people do it because people are forcing them, family are forcing them. But I personally still believe the marriage is something that God will be the one to really have a say. You can have somebody in front of you, but God has to have a say.
Yeah.
And you will just know from the beginning. If it's truly God, you will just know it. But it's the two people, they need to become one. And a woman goes back in the rib of Adam. That's what marriage is, because in the beginning it was Adam and God. The woman was inside the man. So you, the woman who wants to marry the man, are you ready to give up your everything so that you follow the man's dream? If you're not ready, don't marry.
That's why it's so important to have a man with vision, because what you've just explained is a man, the woman's rib is, so she needs to be ready to go inside the man and help build him from the inside out. But if the man has no vision, then she's going to go in and feel empty, like, well, what am I doing now?
Yeah, she gets frustrated, and then she starts to do everything, and and then it just ain't going to happen. So I think sometimes women, we need to leave men be men. And I love it when people have the fiance stages, or they're getting to know each other stages, because that's when you're balancing. That's when, you're seeing, you have the friendship, this is the goal, but then that's when you can see, whether I'm the rib for this vision, because if I'm not, then it's not going to work. Because as you go back inside, I tell people, is a woman has always been the inside voice. When the male comes from the womb, the womb of a woman, is the first voice is the mother's voice that he's always heard, is a woman's voice. So for the destiny, the person that takes the man now to the destiny is the wife. So she has to go back inside. So the man has to already be listening to the advice of the future wife before.
Well, not every man. Some people do pretend.
Thank you.
So you don't know them until you actually get into the marriage with them, until you're married. That's when you start seeing like attitudes like, oh my God.
This is where God comes in. This is where God comes in. You see, in these stages of fiance, bring God in. God, show me the real face of this woman, this man.
When people are in love, they get carried away, Niina. When people are in love, sometimes they get carried away because sometimes falling in love is a lot of man or woman's weakness, and they don't see the bad sides of each other.
Okay, the falling in love as well, it all depends on what people call love. Some people feel love is sex, and I don't feel love is sex, because sometimes what happens is when you become too sexual before you get married, what happens is the communication breaks, and then you're just so infatuated, and it's lust that's operating. It's no longer love. It's just the lust of, oh my God, I love being around you. Just love. It's the lust of what you've already done. And the communication is very minimal, because every other thing is like, oh, you're so beautiful. I love your lips. I love, oh, blah, blah, blah. And that's all you will be talking. But when you actually abstain, and that's when you get to see the real person, if it's yours or not. Because two things will happen. He will either pull away and start chasing other girls, or he will draw closer to you and fall in love with you from the heart, not from the eyes. You see, when you fall in love from the heart, it doesn't make you go crazy, put it that way, okay? But when you fall in love with the eyes, that's when you see all those, oh, we love. Yeah. You see, so it's you need to fall in love from the inside, your heart. So when a man loves you from the heart, be happy, which means whether you have beautiful makeup or not, he loves you. That's very important.
I completely love this. And, you know, we can do a whole topic on just the love and the way you describe marriage and the way you describe the union of togetherness. I completely love it. But we've just come to time now. And I just want to say thank you so much, Niina, for joining us. It has been amazing. Time flew by.
Thank you so much for joining us. So any advice for the viewers quickly on the topic before we go?
Yeah, the only advice would be exactly what I've just said, and I'll keep, emphasizing it, is make sure God is the center and remove the mind of I'm marrying into a family. No, you are marrying into a new world, a new venture that God wants to create, and it's you and your husband, you and your wife. It's very important.
Thank you so much. So where can the viewers find you?
I'm found everywhere. Sorry, you can Google Niina Kabesa, but I'm on Facebook as Niina Kabesa as well. And yeah, just Niina Kabesa. I'm everywhere, I think, at the moment, because of the things that I'm doing. So yeah, just Google Niina Kabesa. You'll find me on Facebook, Spotify. I'm everywhere.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us today. It's lovely.
Thank you.
We wish you the very best.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. So this is all we have for you today. For everyone watching, we really hope you've enjoyed the show. Until next time, bye for now.